right, well, we're going to get started with our program. I trust if you've seen the basket, you're moving it table to table. That's a big help to us. If you can do that, thank you. Oh, multifaceted program today, so that's kind of great for first program of the year. First, we're going to have Gary and Mary Brickell of eSigns Canada. They're going to come and share about a recent business ministry trip to Trinidad and Tobago. And I've had a little insight into it already, and you're going to be quite amazed with that. And then Gary will bring up Derek Covlin, who's the Canadian Director of Partners Worldwide, and he'll have a few things to say at the end as well. So Gary and Mary, or Gary first, come on up.
Thank you, John. Today our topic is ministry in the marketplace. And, you know, I think that what we do every month here in this room is a great example of ministry in the marketplace. It's empowering people who make their life, you know, 40 hours a week at their place of business, or should I say 70 hours a week for most of us realistically. And this is the place that God has called us to minister. I was reading my devotions this morning, something that caught my eye as I read it. I thought, that's exactly what we're all about here at the CBMC Luncheons, and what I'm going to talk about today. And it's in Ephesians chapter 4, where Paul's writing of how the Lord has called some to be prophets, and some evangelists, and some apostles. And I'm thinking, I don't identify with those guys. And then it says, and some teachers, to prepare God's people for work of service, so that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity in the faith, and that is the knowledge of the Son of God, and become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. So as we seek to build one another up in service, you know, God has called some to literally be pastors, and some to be full-time evangelists, and so on. But for the rest of us, you know, grunts that work in the work world, God has a special ministry calling for us as well. I know of no one who sets a better example of ministry in the marketplace and running a kingdom business than our own good friend, Ron Brooks. And Ron doesn't know I'm going to say this today, but Ron and I go back 35 years. We've been closest of friends since 1981. When we lived in Newmarket together, he spearheaded the CBMC luncheons and sessions like this, largely out of his own initiative and drive. He felt passionate about it. And then he came up here exactly 30 years ago. This is their 30th anniversary for Ron and Nancy, moving to Barrie. And straightway he started into, well, let's see if we can't get something rolling up here under the CBMC banner and call business people together to minister to them. I think we should applaud Ron for all the steady work on
I didn't start Barrie.
Right.
I just joined Barrie. I didn't start it.
Well, I know that this work flows out of your heart and your passion, and I'm thankful for that. 4 years ago, how many people were attending about 4 years ago? Let's see a show of hands. Okay, well, you were probably here when a fellow named Jan.13, who is the Canadian Director of Partners Worldwide, came and spoke to us here. He said some things that afternoon that resonated with me. And I've got a message today that may not be for everyone here, but I do hope it's for you, just as he did. And he did speak to my heart. He talked about how people who make their living in the business world, like you and I, and who know the Lord, love the Lord, and have the ability to teach and to lead as demonstrated in our own businesses, well, if we were to transport that skill to another location, there are those who would love to hear what we could share with them in a mentoring capacity. And in fact, he mentioned that he knew a fellow down in Trinidad through his trips down there who was in the sign business, as I'm in the sign business and Ron. And he said, would there be anyone who might like to assist this fellow? And afterwards I went and talked to him. Well, he put me in touch with a fellow named Serville, who will come up on the slideshow. In fact, that is Serville with a blue shirt there on the side. And he was my first contact in Trinidad in 2011. We emailed and Skyped back and forth, and I helped encourage him in his faith and in the work of his little sign business. And then John and his associates invited me to come in and be a part of a small mission trip where it was just myself and one other fellow who was a controller of a company, financial controller. And I went down to share marketing ideas, and the other fellow shared some business accounting ideas. And we traveled to different businesses in 2-hour appointments, and we would sit down with the owners, do a quick analysis, hear their dreams and their ambitions, and then share with them a few simple concepts that would excite their heart and help them ignite their new level. Results on in 2012. I've continued to work with the group down there. There's a lady named Laddie, and just as I mentioned about Ron's passion for what's going on in this room, this lady, Laddie, has a passion for Trinidad, a group that she network of Christians in business. And she's put together a collection of people who represent, just like this room, many different professions. And they meet on a periodic basis, and then she has asked me to come in and to speak to them collectively at this last visit, as well as travel into. So I did 12, shared with Mary about it. She said, well, that's great for you, Gary. That's not the sort of thing the Lord's laying on my heart to do. We were coming on our 40th anniversary in 2015, and I said, how about, dear, if we were to combine our 40th anniversary trip and go down there and have a purpose, and that would be we'd spend half the time history to these members of the network of Christians in business, and you could see them and I could see them, and then we'll go over to Tobago and enjoy a nice, relaxing second half of the trip. She thought that was a great idea. She'll tell you about it in a few minutes. So we went down on, let's see, I think it was and Wednesday, Thursday, during the day with these various business owners. We were toured around to their place. Got to spend time and right with them, hear their dreams and hear their struggles and their interesting insights. You know, if you've seen the movie Back to the Future, that's kind of like what this business is about. They are decades behind in many respects, and they know that we're coming from their future in the world of commerce, and that we can speak into their lives ideas and concepts that can spirit their business ahead quick and pick up those decades of lag time ahead of their competitors. So they are very keen listeners to everything that we have to share that would help them to leverage ahead. So anyway, we had these personal visits during the day, and then in the evening, they took a lecture hall at the University of West Indies, and there I spoke more in a lecture format, teaching the first night business principles and how to take your business to the next level. And these were fundamental business principles from a Christian perspective. But the second night, once I had their full and undivided attention, I spoke to them about building kingdom businesses. These would be businesses that honored the Lord in every respect. That is, that they would see that they're not just their customers, but their staff, their suppliers, even their competitors, were people that God had called them to minister to in that marketplace. And practical ways they could do that. Scripture to support it. And I've got to say, it really ignited their thinking on this, and also their role in the local church. And I just want to quickly share this concept with you that I did with them of sheep and horses. Pastors are trained at seminary to shepherd sheep. By and large, what we have in this room today is a room full of horses, not sheep. That is, you are people who know how to lead. You have ambition. You achieve things. You get things done through people. That's why you are the leaders in your respective businesses. In a local church setting, let me put it this way. We used to raise sheep, so I'm going to speak from that perspective. If you put sheep in a field and put a couple of horses in there, they will not listen to the shepherd, but rather the sheep will follow the influence of the horses all over the field. Wherever the horses go, that's where the flock of sheep will follow, regardless of what the shepherd says. It's the smart shepherd in that scenario who ministers to, who leads the horses, who in turn influence the sheep. I'm saying, as business leaders, leaders in the community, you are the horses in your congregation. I said that to these folks as well. And with that in mind, take a different perspective to your role in your own local church. That you should be the wind under the wings of your pastor and your elders team, doing all that you can, and knowing that you carry influence, even without office or position in your church, and use that as a special ministry and calling that God has given to you as a business leader. And some of them later came to me and said, you know, I've always felt strange and awkward at church in my relationship to the pastors and others. And I think I put my finger on the issue for them and helped them to see it in perspective. And now their new calling of influence with their pastor and especially with their congregation to be his best assistant. While we were down there, I wanted to see this group go from just an occasional gathering of people who got together on a monthly or bi-monthly basis to really building close working relationships. And how many people here are involved in a business leadership group? We used to call them Core Path. Can I just see your hands if you are? We have some in the room. Okay, yes, we have some. These are small cell groups where, as business owner operators, you are able to minister to one another as co-mentors. And I shared this concept with them, and they liked it. And I just got a report Friday that they had a meeting, and they have formed 4 of these cell groups of business owners ministering to one another as co-mentors. We've also been able to carry on a discussion with a number of them who we ministered to. So anyway, without saying anything further, I'd like to invite my wife Mary to come up and share a few of her thoughts on it, and then Derek's going to tell us about the umbrella organization through which we did all of this, Partners Worldwide. Hold on, Mary.
Okay. Last but not least,
Stay
now
close
for
to
my
the
side of the story. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, so the first time Gary went to Trinidad, he really enjoyed helping other people with their businesses, and this really excited him. And when he came home, he said to me, I hope that next time I go that you'll be able to come with me. And I insisted, no, I don't think that's for me. So anyway, and then of course, I'm not much for traveling to other countries, different water, eating different, and thinking of parasites, things you think of when you're in the natural health field. So Gary had kept in touch with Laddie and some of the other people, and so I was glad for him that that was very fulfilling for him, but it didn't interest me. Then in the spring, Laddie had asked Gary if I could join him and teach on health. Excuse me. And but we had so much going on at that time. We were in the process of selling my health food store. We had puppies on the way. I had a new granddaughter coming, and at the time I just thought, no, it probably won't work out, right? And so we told her, well, we'll see. It depends on whether I'm coming, whether I'm going to be available. And then by September, they of course needed some more definite things to put down in their information that they were handing out. So by September the 19th, we had decided, we had closed down the store, but because we had tried to sell it for about a year, and anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But so we decided to close down the store, and then my daughter's baby was due the 1st of November, so we set the date for November 25th, so that's what we were going to stick with. And then Gary, as he had mentioned, had said that we would go to Tobago as a part of our 40th anniversary, because it had been such a busy year, we hadn't really done anything. And so that kind of interested me. I thought, oh, that sounds good. So anyway, so then we were determined we were going to go, and then the night before we were to go, I was packing, and I was doing a lot of things that day, and at 10 o'clock that night, I got so dizzy, I couldn't even stand up, so I laid on the couch, and then Gary was getting ready to go to bed at 1 by the time he was done packing and doing his things, and I told him I'm so dizzy, and I got up to go to the washroom, and then the room started spinning, and then I laid back down, and I thought, oh no, I was afraid I had vertigo or something, and I'd never had anything like that, and so I said to him, I don't know how I'll ever be able to go. I can't even get up, let alone get on an airplane. And so anyway, Gary had prayed with me and then gone off to bed. And I was laying there the whole time thinking, I didn't really want to go, now I want to go. I don't feel like it, so I just didn't know how it was going to work out. And so anyway, I went to sleep, and I woke up around 3 a.m. and got up slowly, and I was able to get up and, pack, and I never had any more issue with it after, so the Lord was good to heal me of that. And it's also maybe, kind of a spiritual struggle too, I was thinking, when we arrived, then Laddie had called us and said that they wanted to get together with us for our 40th anniversary and take us out to dinner. And then, so it ended up, they took us to a home, and they had, we saw probably one of the pictures, all the people standing in front of the sign that said happy anniversary. And so they had a big get-together with all the people that were in the businesses there that were working in their group. And they made it very, very special for us. We really enjoyed our time. And each day was very busy, meeting with businesses in the day. Gary was teaching seminars at night. And then one evening I was able to share kind of the journey God had put me on from the beginning of my business till now, the close, and how God had brought me through that. And so in the last seminar, I taught the ABCs of good health, and just how that we as Christians, more than anybody else, should be taking care of our bodies, since it's a temple of the Holy Spirit. And also, if we have good health, we'll be more successful in our businesses. So kind of went on that. And that was a very special time. And these people were so gracious. They were so willing to learn. They were like sponges. And their attitude, they were so thankful. Unlike here in Canada, where we just have so much information, we really don't appreciate all that we do have. But anyway, I'm really glad I went. It was a great experience. And now and then now we're home to have a couple people that want me to mentor them. So I'll be doing some mentoring from home via computer and Skype. The business and closing the business and how God brought me through that. I felt that I need to share, my whole business journey for them, and also hopefully today that this will be helpful to you too, that maybe there's some here that to their heart. But Gary had felt we needed to sell business, so about 1.5 years ago we put the business up for sale, but I had said to Gary I didn't really want to sell it to anybody that didn't really have a heart for it, and so we had a lot to buy it, but not necessarily anybody that really had that experience. And and then, so at the very end, though, we decided, well, we have to do something. We had a few qualified people that came, and, oh, this is great, but it didn't work out for any of them. So, and I kind of thought that God was going to put it all together, the most glorifying thing for Him, if He worked it all out and sold the business. But it didn't happen that way. So we tried to make it on a positive, and we did a sale. And so we ended up on a positive, and the customers were very, very good. They were all wishing me well on my retirement, and I was able to pay off my suppliers. So it did work out positive. But during this time, it was very disappointing for me. And in my head, 3 which says, we also exult in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance, and perseverance proven character, and proven character hope. And God impressed her. It was more important to patience, character, and hope in me than that glorified than selling. The song out right now by Casting Crowns, and in it says, your world in part is just falling into place. And quite often we think we have it all figured out, and what's going to glorify God, and when we sometimes feel like everything's falling apart, it's not really. It's just God working in our lives to make everything fall in place. Thanks.
Covlin is the Canadian Director of Partners Worldwide, and we've asked him to share with you how you might feel in this whole.
Thank you so much. First of all, Gary and Mary, I wanted to thank you for your continued service in the Partners Worldwide Network. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Through the work that you've been doing through the network of Christian businesses in Trinidad and Tobago, you've been coming alongside a group of small business owners, who are emerging entrepreneurs or established business owners who are trying to build their business to the next level, and who are trying to glorify God in the marketplace, who are trying to create economic transformation through job creation and wealth generation for themselves, and also to create social transformation, the opportunity for ourselves in Canada that given the love to care for ourselves, for our family. The reality is slide you see that I'm able to personally interested in study years ago, 1,000 people, and they interviewed